You're listening to international investment advisor Doug Goldstein on the Goldstein on Gelt show, the financial show where we'll talk about how you can make the most of your money. With all the confusing financial chatter bombarding you each and every day, Goldstein on Gelt will give you the practical information you want and need about living a financially stable life. Here's your host, money maven Doug Goldstein.
Okay, we are back. Very happy to have on the show Lillian S. Cauldwell, who is the founder and chief creative officer and, of course, CEO of Passionate World Radio, PWR, which is, in fact, a station that the Goldstein on Gelt show appears, amongst others. Lillian, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So Lillian is a very, very broadly experienced person, both a radio personality as well as an author, the author of a best-selling book, Teenagers, a Bewildered Parent's Guide, which I should probably read now with 4 teenagers. But she's working on a new book. Lillian, tell us about it.
The new book is part of a series for young adults, and the first book is for really young adults, which are between the ages of 9 and 12. But in this second book, The Anime Mysteries, The 7 Keys of Solomon, I have the 3 protagonists, 1 girl and 2 boys. Anime Bots, who's 15, her brother Malcolm Box, who's now 12, and their best friend Raul Garcia, who is also 15, abroad in Eurasia. And I did some research, and if you're 15 years old, you're considered an adult, and you do not need a chaperone to get over and around by yourself, and that's why I aged them by 3 years so that the anime and Raul could be chaperones to the 12-year-old Malcolm.
All right, so we've got these 3 kids who are traveling in Europe. It's quite an adventure story, but how does this differ from, let's say, other works that probably didn't sell as well as yours is about to sell, like Harry Potter or Twilight or The Hunger Games?
Well, first of all, I'm dealing with multicultural characters. I have 2 African Americans and I have an Hispanic. And when I set about writing the series and setting it up, the first thing I did was talk to teachers and librarians who told me quite bluntly that there wasn't really enough multicultural books out there for the children, or teens, if you want to put it that way, to identify and brand with, that the problems and the encounters that white kids have are not necessarily the same type of encounters and challenges that Black and Hispanic kids have, or for that matter, kids abroad.
So do you think that you were finding something in the market that was simply missing, or something that there was no market for, or is that yet to be determined?
I think it's yet to be determined. Certainly when I wrote the book and put it together and approached several agents with it, they all wanted me to make white characters with a bonus Black child or a bonus Spanish child in there. But I've gotten a lot of emails from African Americans and from Hispanics, plus Chinese and other ethnic groups, where they're really delighted to know that they're put in books with their own adventures, especially the girls, who are delighted for an author to picture them as someone with a brain who can think independently of a boy and go on adventures and solve any problems that occur within those adventures without having going to a boy for his strength.
So I think you're on to something which is very interesting, which is you're looking for a specific market that maybe is underserved at this point. Let's talk a little bit about the business of books before we get into the discussion of the anime mysteries themselves. How do you expect this book to ultimately become successful?
Well, the first thing you have to do before you even start writing your book is make sure you have a pretty good understanding of who your target audience is and how you are going to get it out to them. Now, if you were a retail store, a real estate agent would say location, location, location. But in a book, you have to know who your target audience is and what is the best way to get it out to that target audience. Well, since my target audience is teenagers, young adults, which can be anywhere from 9 years up to 18 or 21 for that matter, the idea is to get it out to them via different chat rooms, groups where the teens actually do review books, get it out to the libraries, get it out to the schools, and talk to the parents. I found that a lot of grandparents are reading my book to kids, not just 9, but to kids as young as 6 and 7, because they say there's a message in there and they want their grandchildren, especially their granddaughters, to understand that there are certain things they don't have to do in order to succeed. And even though the world is slightly slanted towards boys, that a girl can succeed if she has the proper tools and foundation on which to build upon. So taking all that in consideration, I contact schools and school libraries.
Okay. We are talking with Lillian Cauldwell, who is a radio personality and the owner, in fact, of PWR Radio, where the Goldstein on Gelt show plays as well. And she's a great writer. She's written a number of books, and she's here talking to us today about her upcoming book called The Anna May Mysteries. I want to touch on something you said a minute ago, Lillian. You said that one of the ways of getting the book out to the market is through such channels as chat rooms and speaking to parents and speaking to teachers and librarians, which all sounds perfectly logical. But as an author, and let's talk to the authors who are listening to the show, because a lot of people, whether they are published or not, they are authors in their heart. How can they really do this in a big enough way, more than to sell, a few dozen books?
Well, the big thing is you really need to go to writers' conferences and conventions, because this gives you an opportunity to network and also to speak to other authors who most of the time will share their ideas of how to go out and market your book. Also, because of the internet, there are opportunities for authors to get involved in blogs in which you find other people who are writing about teenagers, dealing with teenagers. You can go in, you can introduce yourself, become involved within that blog community, and eventually they will ask you to write something. I have had numerous blog people contact me saying, could you please come in and moderate a discussion? Could you please come in and give a discussions for conventions and conferences? I'm doing them for a decade now, and they want to hear what you have to say, because whether you write a fiction book or a nonfiction book, you are considered an instant expert in what you've just written, and they do come after you.
So it's the networking that you're trying to do. But again, is there any leverage here? One of the complaints that a lot of people have is they say they work with a publishing company, and the publisher maybe do a very nice job at printing the book, but they don't really give enough support in distribution. Is that your experience, and do you really feel it all falls on the shoulders of the author?
I really believe it does. Even the top 10 publishing companies in New York demand that you submit a marketing plan, and if you're not doing at least 75 to 80% of the marketing, they won't take you and publish you. The top 10 publishers in New York no longer have the money to really invest in you as a new author. I've even been told by the top listed authors that nothing's a sure deal, and any marketing plan they submit when they submit their proposal for a new book, if the publishing company does not feel it will bring them back the money that they're putting out, they just won't give you a contract anymore. I think because of the advent of ebooks, and because ebooks are relatively cheaper than soft-bound books or hardcovers, people can get their books out there a lot quicker. And if you know what the audience is, you can really sell a lot of ebooks.
So your new book is coming out originally as a paperback, right? Not as an ebook.
It's coming out as a paper book and as an ebook, because that's pretty much now how they do it. They release it both to get as much distribution as possible. When I first started, the distributors had their own top 10 lists, and Teenagers, a Bewildered Parent's Guide landed on the top 10 list, and within 3 months had already surpassed the 2,500 books that you needed to sell before you got into a second reprint. And I easily sold the first 2,500 and was almost completing my second edition when the company went bankrupt.
Oh, no.
So
I guess your book wasn't enough to sustain it, but that's very impressive, though.
I really believe I have a friend who does ebooks, and she tells me that Kindle has released a marketing sheet telling you it's 4 pages long, and so does Barnes & Noble with their Nook. And they gave her a 10-page marketing plan. And according to both of these plans, an author has to spend at least 4 to 6 hours every day marketing and distributing their books.
Right, that's because it's really like a business. That has to become your job.
It is a business, and you have to. In fact, there's 2 well-known best-selling New York authors who have written a book of how to launch your book before it is out there by the publisher. And usually you should start about 12 months ahead of time to let people to know that your book is coming. And of course, the best way is for you to talk about it wherever you are, and also put a bee into. I have teens who have read sections of the book before it's released. And teens, if they like something, they tell their friends and they tell their parents. And it's word of mouth advertising. I've done it before with the radio station, and everybody knows how successful PWR Talk has become. So it's no different with a book.
All right. That is fascinating. Lillian, we are almost out of time. I'm really happy that I have the chance to talk to Lillian Cauldwell, who is an author as well as the head of PWR Radio, which is one of the stations that the Goldstein on Gelt shows up on. Lillian, in the just past last few seconds, can you just tell people how can they follow your work and follow this new book coming out?
They can follow my work through the station's website, which are several, http://pwrtalk.ning.com. It's a community website. It has the title and the book cover on the website, The Anime Mysteries, the 7 Keys of Solomon. And they can either contact me at Lillian, Lillian Cauldwell, Cauldwell @gmail.com, or it should be showing up soon at Passionate, Passionate, Writer, WRITER, Publishing, PUBLISHING.com.
Okay, Lillian Cauldwell, thanks so much for your time and best of luck on the book.
Thank you very much. I had a great time.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.